Hi, good evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Naeem, thanks to Ramakam, thanks Kranti. I was here last in April this year and also 2 years ago. It's always a joy to come back here and I enjoy the space and the spirit of the space. So this evening I thought I'll just speak a bit about hot topic, nationalism. And I've titled the talk From Desh, Prem to Rashtra. I'll speak for about half an hour maybe, and then take some questions or comments or observations, and then sing just a few songs of Kabir. So let me start with the Shanti mantra from the Ishavasya Upanishad. It says, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. All this is full, all that is full. From fullness, fullness comes. If fullness is taken from fullness, fullness still remains. So this tells us something about the spirit of this land. It believes in fullness, in wholeness, in completeness. From the Vedas, the Upanishads, to Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Bhakti traditions, Sufi traditions, Baul traditions, we have all these traditions over several centuries which speak of the One, or this fullness, or this completeness in their different ways. And with this, speaking of the One, we also speak about multiplicity. That the truth is one, but the forms are always many, and expressions are always different, and several, and plural. We are a civilization that embraces. We embrace many things. Many people have come from outside and become us. We don't know if we are us or we are outsiders. There is no difference anymore. This has started not only from the 8th, 9th century, but from long ago. People have been coming here and always we have had different kinds of people living in one space and working out ways to live together with difference, and yet with the basis that has always underpinned this, which I would call oneness or unity or wholeness or fullness. Use any word that you like. We embrace whoever comes here, whether people who come here, whether they return the embrace is up to them. So we see that the Britishers did not return the embrace. They only ruled us and they went back. But other people who have come, they returned the embrace and they have become one of us. So there is no us and them. From a civilization that embraces, we are now trying to become a nation which excludes. Which excludes not only outsiders like the Rohingyas, but also people who are here, who we consider different. We want to fight and establish our supremacy, we want to establish our identity, we want to become a superpower, and we want to become something. We want to be recognized as a nation. So we compare in the balance of less and more. Kabir in one song says, "Halki thi jab chadi tarazu, puri bhai phir kyun tole?" As long as you are light and incomplete, you keep comparing yourself with other people. Now less, now more. When you become full, when you become complete, then you don't need to weigh yourself against others. You don't need to compare yourself against others. You don't need to be more or less. You don't need to be stronger or weaker. These terms have now entered our lexicon. So let me start with the title and these two ideas. Just see how these words fall on your ears. One is the word called Desh Prem. Another is a word called Rashtra. Do they carry the same feeling for you? For me, they don't. If you think about, let's start with Desh and Rashtra. If you think about the word Desh, देश is not only country, it's the area you come from. हमारे देश में तो ऐसा होता है. It could be Rajasthan, it could be your village, it could be anything. Desh is small and it's big. It has many meanings. It can be both. It doesn't have to be one. And it has an emotional connect of land, my land, where I grew up, where I come from. Now think about this word called Rashtra. Does it have the same feeling for you? For me, Rashtra seems like an abstract concept which we are being told about. It's the entity which we have to think about, we have to conceptualize with our minds. It doesn't involve the heart directly. You have to believe in the Rashtra. Whereas Desh, you are connected to automatically. It's the place where you come from, wherever it is. Now think about the term Prem. What does Prem evoke in us? Prem means love, and immediately it evokes a feeling, an affection. And Vaad, you know what Vaad means? Vaad means a doctrine or a theory or a thesis or an ideology. Does an ideology evoke the same feeling in us as love? So, what is the difference, or what may be the difference between love and ideology? Just to think about it. Ideology is enforced, love flows. Ideology is fixed, love is flexible and malleable. Ideology is absolute. You have to believe in it. Love is relative, embracing many truths. Ideology is exclusive. Either you believe in it or you don't. You're either in or you're out. You're either a believer or not a believer. Love is inclusive. Ideology is abstract. It's conceptual. Love is something real, which we experience in our bodies, in our minds, in our hearts. Ideology is of the mind. Love belongs to heart, body and mind. All of them. And therefore, ideology is incomplete, love is full, love is whole. Ideology is masculine. Love is whole. If you expected me to say love is feminine, no. Love is both masculine and feminine. It is complete. It is not divided up. Ideology is masculine. That's the difference. Ideology is aggressive. Love is active. It's not passive, it's active. It acts, but it is not aggressive. There is a difference between being aggressive and being active. Because love cares and therefore it acts. Love is active. So to do something for the country is active. It's love. But being aggressive is a different thing. Ideology is insecure. It needs believers. Love is secure because it gives. It doesn't need. It gives. So you see, there is a huge world of difference, what I feel at least, between love and ideology. And which would you choose? Would you choose love or would you choose ideology to live your life by? Love does not exclude the mind. Love is intelligent. Ideology uses only the mind. And that's what our culture as a whole has become. Not just in India, but modern culture as a whole relies too much on the mind, relies too much on concepts, and makes us want to believe too much rather than feel and experience and know in the world. I am trying to posit the theory, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but that this aggressiveness comes out of a feeling of insecurity, whereas love is rooted in a feeling of security. One needs to be aggressive only when one feels insecure. When one feels secure, one is free to love, to give and to receive, to exchange. India is unique in that it has had a civilization which has not seen a complete rupture. It has flowed through many, many centuries. It is not like other civilizations which have had complete ruptures and different cultures have come in that same land. Like the Egyptian, for example, or the Mesopotamian. That did not happen to India. Why is that? My feeling is that it's because it embraces this plurality, diversity, multiplicity. And these days, you know, plurality and multiplicity has become, or tolerance, have become liberal catchwords. These are not liberal catchwords. This is lived practice in India for at least 5,000 years. So if people want to dismiss it as elite liberalism, they don't know what they're talking about. Because this is a practice that has kept the civilization alive for 5,000 years. And it's ours. It hasn't come from the West to us. It is something that we know in our blood. How to live together with difference. And this strength, this security is also lies in the ability to love. To be able to love is a capacity which one has to develop. It's not a given. Not everyone knows how to love. God doesn't send you with that capacity, or maybe He does and we lose it. And India has had many problems. It's not that there are serious problems of social structure, rigidity in social structure, with caste, with ritualism. We have had many invasions, we have had a lot of violence. But in spite of all this, there is an undercurrent which has always been very alive in our culture, in our art, in our thought, in our philosophy, in our practices. Why is it that nothing was able to destroy this? India is nothing if not diverse from the beginning. So why should we suddenly start feeling insecure about ourselves? It's an interesting question. I'll come to this question shortly. But to come to the idea of diversity, it's even enshrined in a Vaad. We even have a word for it called Vaad. Jainism says the only truth is Vaad, multiplicity of perspectives. No one perspective can ever capture the truth. You know, there is a wonderful Pakistani Sufi singer, Qawwal Farid Ayaz Sahab. He has come here, I think. And he says, you know, each thing has at least 6 dimensions. Front and back, top and bottom, left and right, the two sides, right? Each thing has at least 6 dimensions, 6 ayam. And to see just one, you need 2 eyes. So to be able to see all 6 dimensions at once, you would need 12. We don't have 12 eyes. But 12 people have 12 eyes. And that is the meaning of Anekantva. Not that one person or one ism or one perspective can capture the truth, but that many together capture parts of the truth, like the elephant and the blind man. We have always held that while the ultimate truth is one, its expressions are many. Shiva is one, but Shakti displays her wonders in many ways, not just one. It expresses itself in many ways. And all expressions are valid and true. We don't have the idea of heresy, that absolute right and absolute wrong. Either this or that. What has become Hinduism was an amalgamation of many sects. And even today within so-called Hinduism, you see many different sects doing their own thing. Now we try to capture it and make it one. Even in the body we realize there is not one type of body. The Indian system realizes that you may be a Kapha Pravriti, you may be a Vata Pravriti, you may be a Pitta Pravriti, or a combination, different combinations. And therefore your diseases are also different and your remedies are also different. Now, if you see the modern paradigm, allopathy reduces everything to just one. The disease is one and the remedy is one. Whereas we recognize difference in every single thing. Even body types are not different. Emotional types are not different. Are not the same. They are different for different people. There are even different types of yoga available. You can practice the Bhakti Marg, you can do Jnana Yoga, you can do Karma Yoga, you can do Raj Yoga. No one says you must do this or only this. It depends on your pravriti, what you choose to do. So coexistence and allowing of difference, multiplicity, diversity is the very root of Indian dharma. We have Brahmins who eat fish and who used to eat meat. We have many Ramayanas. We have Dalit Ramayana. We have Muslim Ramayana in different parts of the world. We have many Rams. We have many Krishnas. We have many Mahabharatas. Even when you speak about, it's very funny, even if you speak about Advaita, which is non-two, we have many Advaitas. We have the Shankara's Advaita, then we have Dvait Advaita, then we have Vishishta Advaita, then we have Bheda Veda Advaita. So we are pretty incorrigible. Everything, we give it many, many different forms. It's not just one. Even though it's Advaita, it's many Advaitas. We even have the Charvak philosophy, which denies the Vedas and Vedanta. And it's respected, it's allowed its place. It believes in material reality, what you can perceive, and it honors doubt. So we honor doubt too, doubt has its place. This acceptance of difference, where does it come from? It comes from the primary conviction in the one. They are not two different things. If you are convinced about the one, then you are not bothered about difference. Because difference is an expression. If you are not convinced about the one, then difference bothers you. Because you believe in the difference. Then difference becomes solid. You are different from me, he is different from her, they are different from us. And difference becomes a problem. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, the wife is loved not for her own sake here, but because the one lives in her. The husband is loved not for his own sake here, but because the one lives in him. The Isha Upanishad says again, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Everything here is the Isha, is that truth. Everything that you see, everything that is manifest. This conviction runs through everything, down to the Bhakti, the Sufi and the Baul traditions which are part of our country. Difference is not opposition. Men and women are different. We can't deny it. Adults and children are different. Easterners and Westerners are different. Hindus, Muslims and Christians are different. But they don't have to be in opposition to each other just because they are different. There is a difference in being different and being in opposition. We oppose each other or we fight a war with each other when we other someone. When we believe very strongly in our identity and we differentiate it from someone else's identity. We make them the other. So for men, women become the other. Or for Indians, Pakistanis become the other. We reject the other. We look down on them, we despise them. We either seek to change them or we want to cast them out. Why should difference become a reason to reject and to oppose? It becomes a reason to reject only when we are insecure about ourselves. We want to reaffirm our own identity to ourselves and therefore we are constantly opposing the other's identity. And why should we be insecure about ourselves? Maybe because these identities which we are trying to wear these days are not fitting us very comfortably. We are trying to wear a cloth which is not fitting us very well, which is not organic, which has been given by someone, which was bought by someone who didn't know our size. And therefore we are uncomfortable all the time. It is something imposed by the mind. It's a concept we are trying to wear. It is not a Prem which is arising from the heart. It's Vaad, and this Vaad brings about Vivad. Outer shows of strength become necessary when we lack inner strength. Assertion, aggression, show of power, all this comes from inherent insecurity. This is a basic psychological principle. We only tend to believe in outer power these days. We don't believe in moral power or spiritual power or inner strength anymore. This is a strength that has kept us alive, that has kept our civilization going till now, in spite of all the violence. Think of a person like Gandhi who is naked, who is weak physically, who has nothing, and he stands against an empire. You think that comes from nothing? It comes from a great inner strength to be able to stand there. He did not hate the British. He did not need to hate the British. He did not need to hate. But he could still believe in his own conviction, in his own truth, without needing to hate. But now we despise people like him because they are weak and we want to be strong, we want to be powerful, we want to show them. Tagore, in his essay on nationalism, says, boasting is only a masked shame. It does not truly believe in itself. So we should think before we get into boasting about ourselves. This new identity that we are being told that we must wear is based on othering, on difference. And not only difference but rejection. This is the idea of dui, two, separation. Kabir says many things about dui, the idea of duality. He says, Hindu moe hai Ram kai, Musalman khudai. Kahe Kabir so jeeta, dui mein kader na hai. He says, Hindus die muttering Ram, Ram, Ram. Muslims die chanting Khuda, Khuda, Khuda. But they are both dying and they are both dead already. Kabir says, only he or she is truly alive who doesn't believe in duality, in this separation. He says, haan kahun to hai nahi, na bhi kayo nahi jaye. If I say yes, it's not so. And I also cannot say no. Haan aur na ke beech mein mera Satguru raha samay. Between yes and no, my Guru lives, my true Guru lives. My truth resides between yes and no. So it's a living space. It's not a dead space of yes and no. It's not a space, when someone says this is the truth and you must believe in it, it's a dead space. Because what is true right now may not be true tomorrow. But when you are alive, you flow with the truth. And what is true today is true today. What is true tomorrow is true tomorrow. And you are comfortable with it. But this cannot be imposed. For this, people need to be independent. Jhoote jagpati ana. If you speak the truth, they'll come and beat you up. But if you say falsehoods, they will all believe you and follow you. So it's not a new thing. It's been happening for a long time. Hindu ka hak hai Ram hamara Musalman रहमाना. आपस में दो लड़े मरत हैं, मरम कोई नहीं जाना. Hindus say we believe in Ram. Muslims say we believe in Rahman or Allah. They keep fighting each other, but they don't understand the essence of either Ram or Rahim. बहुत मिले मोहे नेमी धर्मी, प्रात करें असनाना. I met many religious practitioners who get up early in the morning at 4 o'clock and take baths. आसन मार डिम्ब दर बैठे, मन में बहुत गुमान. They strike all these prescribed postures, but their hearts are full of arrogance, guman. Mala pehire, topi pehire, chap tilak anumana. They show all these, they make these shows of chap, tilak, mala, mudra, topi. बहुतक देखे पीर औलिया, पढ़े किताब कुराना. ऐसे मैंने बहुत देखे पंडित और मुल्ला. They keep reading their books and their Quran. करे मुरीद कबर बतलावे, उन्हू खुदा ना. They take on many disciples and they become great gurus, but they know nothing about the truth about God. या विधि हसत चलत हैं हमको आप कहा दे सियाना. They laugh at me, Kabir says. These people, they laugh at me and they think they are very clever. कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, इनमें कौन दीवाना? Kabir says, you think for yourself, who's the crazy one among the two of us? Who is the crazy one? So why do we have this fear of multiplicity now? Diversity, plurality. Why do we want to homogenize everything? We want to homogenize religion, we want to homogenize patriotism. Why this discomfort with fuzziness? You know, in Rajasthan you may have many communities who are very fuzzy. So very easy to find a name called Ram Khan. You won't be surprised to find someone called Ram Khan. Now this is a problem now. It's not been a problem for centuries. Because some guys are not telling them to decide, either choose Ram or Khan. So why this need to have clear categories, clear divisions, hard categories? You want to clean things up, put them in different boxes so that you can say this box is different from this box and they can never meet. Identity politics has always been like this, whether it's in the name of caste, it's in the name of religion, it's in the name of nation. Identity politics plays on this. It's about power. It's about getting power. Whenever you consolidate an identity group, you accrue power. So the leaders of that group become powerful. And the members of that group feel powerful through their leaders. But why do we need to feel powerful? Who needs to feel powerful? Someone who feels powerless. If you feel confident, then you don't need to feel powerful. You already feel powerful. But when you feel powerless, you seek to feel powerful. So it tells us something about ourselves. It's very interesting that these days when, India is supposed to be the rising power and all these listings come out and all these rankings come out and, we are going to get into the Security Council and we are going to sit at the table of the world as equals and Indians have become global citizens and India is being recognized in all kinds of ways and we are flexing our muscles internationally and you think India is feeling very confident. Actually, it may be the reverse. We are feeling deeply insecure. That's why we need to be very aggressive. And why are we feeling insecure? I would propose that we are feeling insecure because we have abandoned our own deepest traditions. We are actually aping the West, and I don't mean people who wear Western clothes or speak in English. I don't mean them. I mean the so-called nationalists. They are aping the West even more. Why? Because this whole idea of nationalism is a Western idea. We don't have this idea in this sense. So it's quite remarkable that something which is totally Western, the nation state came about in the 19th century in Europe due to historical factors. Through the formation of Italy, France, Germany. Before that, there were no nations like this. There were multi-ethnic empires. People spoke different dialects. So when, during the time of the French Revolution, this I read somewhere, less than half the people spoke French as it is spoken now. People spoke different dialects. And even less number of Italians spoke Italian the way it is now, when Italy was formed. People lived in small areas and they spoke different languages. They didn't have one Italian identity. They didn't have one French identity. It was a project that was carried out to take one dialect and make it as the national language. So something became official French, something became official Italian, and slowly borders were drawn and everyone started to speak that language. And the state took control of the nation, and therefore nation state. The government became powerful and started to impose national symbols, the flag, the anthem. These are all new things, and these are very Western things. So when the nationalists, so-called nationalists, say that they are trying to preserve our culture, it has nothing to do with our culture. It's totally a Western, modern, industrial import. And that's why this Vaad and Rashtra has come, which has nothing to do with us, actually. It does not belong to our culture, it does not belong to our civilization. It sits uneasy on us, that's why we feel uncomfortable all the time. We're trying to believe in it very hard, but somehow it's not working. And so we have to be beaten into believing it. We are insecure because we don't know who we are anymore. In the name of history, we believe something else. In the name of culture, we believe something else. Our morality is actually Victorian, but we think it's Indian. The idea of the nation is a modern industrial thing, but we think it's harking back to our past. The idea of the nation as we know it has a totally spiritual basis. So if there is an idea of Bharatvarsh or Hindustan, it is rooted in a spiritual truth. It is not a political idea. There has never been a political entity. It's a spiritual entity which has been around. And this no one is interested in denying. It's very old. But because it's a spiritual entity, it's a spiritual truth, it allows for a diversity of expression. It doesn't need a top-down imposition. What we have currently needs a top-down imposition. Someone needs to tell us when to stand and when to sit. But if it's spontaneous, if it's based in the spiritual tradition, these things are organic and come from the inside out, not from the outside in. They come from the bottom up, from the people, not from the top. Our current notions of Hindu, Muslim, India, nationalism, these are all Western. Even the idea of Hindu right now is a Western. The idea of Muslim as we know it right now is a Western. In the way we understand Hindu Muslim. The idea of the nation as a militaristic power is a Western view. Tagore says this in his essay: India has never had a real sense of nationalism. It is my conviction that my countrymen will truly gain their India by fighting against the education which teaches them that a country is greater than the ideas of humanity. So the idea of India is based in the ideas of humanity, in spiritual truth, not my nation comes first. He says, I am not against one nation in particular, but against the general idea of all nations. What is the nation? It is the aspect of a whole people as an organized power. This organization incessantly keeps up the insistence of the population on becoming strong and efficient. But the strenuous effort after strength and efficiency drains man's energy from his higher nature, where he is self-sacrificing and creative. Thereby man's power of sacrifice is diverted from his ultimate object, which is moral, to the maintenance of this organization, which is mechanical. And he makes a very interesting point. He says, actually India has something to give to the world right now. In India, we have always had the practice, the experience of living together in one space with difference. And this is the situation of the world right now. With modernity, with migration, with the internet, you see that Europe, America, they're all struggling with multi-ethnicity. They don't know how to handle it. They've always been one. And when the Europeans went to the US, they wiped out the other ethnicities because they couldn't handle it. We can't handle difference. We are different because we don't wipe out, we embrace. So this is the situation of the world, what has been the situation in India for a long time. And he says India has this to teach to the world. How to live together with difference on the basis of a spiritual unity, on the realization of a spiritual truth. But we are going on the opposite track. Hum ulti gaadi chala rahe hain. What we have, we want to abandon. And we want to take on an ideology which has inherent problems and which is causing problems all over the world. Not just here. So it's something to think about. Why do we want to abandon something which we have had for a long time and take something which is only a few centuries old, couple of centuries old, and which seems doomed to create more and more problems? Tagore says in his essay, you must keep in mind that this political civilization, this creed of national patriotism, has not been given a long trial. It's very recent. The lamp of ancient Greece lies extinct. The power of Rome lies dead. But the civilization whose basis is society, social cohesion, harmony, and the spiritual ideal of man is still a living thing in India. Though it may look feeble and small, judged by the standard of the mechanical power of modern days, yet the small seeds it still contains life and will sprout and grow. So the seed is small, but it has life. Skyscrapers are tall, but they are dead and they are doomed to fall, whereas the seed is destined to grow. And what will we choose? Kabir says our whole civilization is also based on the idea of self-examination, self-interrogation, looking at oneself. Not only criticizing the other, but looking at oneself. So Kabir says in a doha, which you must all know, Bura jo dekhan mein gaya, bura na milya koi, jo tan khoja apna, mujhse bura na koi. I set out in search of evil, I didn't find anyone who was bad. I looked into my own self, and there was no one worse than me. This is the basis of our civilization, from the Upanishads onwards, to the Sufi tradition. Dekha apne aap, always looking at oneself. What is my beauty? What is my fault? How am I relating with others? How am I relating with the divine? This is the basis of our civilization. But right now, we have turned the gaze totally outward, and we are interested in judging and criticizing others and rejecting them. Also, in the spirit of multiplicity, if you think about love, there are so many ways to love. You can love your country in many ways. You can love your country by serving the poor. You can love your country by cleaning up the cities. You can love your country by healing your fellow countrymen. You can love your country by loving your fellow countrymen. There are so many ways to love. Like Rumi says in one poem, there are 1,000 ways in which to kneel and kiss the ground. There's not just one. So love allows a variety of expression. So love your country. I love my country. I love it in many different ways. But why must it be prescribed? Why must there be one prescribed way? And is that love? Is prescription love? In a family, when the husband tells the wife or the parents tell the children what to do, and it's for you because I love you. Is that love? Or is it love when you allow something to flower, like a plant which grows, and you tend for it, and its expression may be different. A rose will grow into a rose, or a mango tree will grow into a mango tree, and a neem tree will grow into a mango tree. You cannot force the neem tree to become a mango tree. That is not love. Love is allowing the neem tree to be a neem tree. If you make demands of the neem tree to become a mango tree, that's not love. That's prescription. These days we have turned against ourselves. We want to jail our own students. We want to thrash and lynch our own people. We have paid trolls who are paid to shout, abuse, and shut up other people, so that there is only one kind of expression, so that everyone speaks the same language. We have an atmosphere of fear, so that people become afraid to express difference. And the whole point of this is that there should be one overarching narrative, which is just designed by someone else, and that power consolidates in the hands of a few people, rather than being diffused with everyone. Tagore says that degradation which we cast upon others in our pride or self-interest degrades our own humanity. This is the punishment which is most terrible, because we do not detect it till it is too late. If we degrade someone else, we ourselves are degraded, but we don't realize it, because we are longing for power. If we must have a nationalism, let us have a nationalism of the soul. If we are to be great as a nation, it is only on that basis. We are at a crossroads. What will we choose? Will we choose power, or will we choose love? This is the moment of truth. Will we go the way of Japan and China and become huge industrial complexes and become powerful in the usual way, or will we stay true to our traditions? Will we allow ourselves to be seduced by power? In the end, I would like to say that in India we have known time, and we have known eternity. We have known a long time. These are matters of the moment. Let us also not get too disturbed by them. Let us not despair. These powers rise and fall. Truth alone stays. This is the truth of creation which we have explored, felt, and expressed. Even if we have forgotten now, it's within our body, it's within our soul. Satyamev jayate na anritam. Truth alone triumphs, not unlawfulness. There is a nice story, and we have always held truth to be the highest ideal, not concepts, but lived truth, experienced truth. There is a nice story of Sohini and Mahiwal. Sohini is married off in the name of love to a man from her own community, but she loves Mahiwal, and Mahiwal lives on the other shore of the river. So every night Sohini, in spite of being married, she goes at night and she crosses the river, and she meets her beloved, her truth, Mahiwal, and she comes back before the break of dawn. Now Sohini has a guru, a murshid called Chutto. So one night, Chutto is sitting by the river and he's smoking his hookah, and he sees Sohini stealing off to go and meet Mahiwal. And he stops her and he says, you gave me a promise. He made her give her a promise before marriage that she will stop meeting Mahiwal after marriage. So he says, you gave me a promise that you will stop meeting Mahiwal after you are married. Will you break your promise to your guru? He asks her. And so he says, those who have loved truly, those who are in love with their Mahiwal, those who are in love with their truth, they will even break their promise to God. What is a promise to a guru? So this is the strength of our belief in lived truth, not concepts, not even the concept of God, much less the concept of a nation. These are abstract concepts, but lived truth is within everyone, and that is stronger. And I am speaking about this today not because I am going to influence anyone. I mean, mostly we preach to the converted, and there is no real dialogue between people. I am speaking today not because someone will hear or I want to say something important. I am speaking today just because this is the truth of this moment for me. And we send this truth out and it does its own work. We don't need to make programs of change. We don't need to keep numbers and indexes about how much change we have achieved. We live our truth, and that truth has power. And this is the strength of our civilization. From Kabir to Nanak to Meera, they all lived their truth in the face of social convention. Meera left her palace and she became a jogal, and she was persecuted. They sent her drinks of poison, they sent her scorpions in a purse, and she went through all those trials. Kabir was persecuted. Everyone who has spoken truth, convention does not like it. But India has been alive all this time because it believes in this truth, lived truth, experienced truth, which is different in its expression. Its basis is one, but expressions are different. I don't know if you remember this Doordarshan, एक चिड़िया अनेक चिड़िया, एक तितली अनेक तितली, फूल हैं अनेक किंतु माला फिर एक. It runs through our blood, it's in our songs, we don't even have to think about it. Even when Doordarshan makes a spot, it comes out. This is what we must believe in. In the end, I will quote a poem of Kabir which I really like. It's about time, and it's about eternity, so that we don't get caught up in the fights of the moment, but we return to this truth in ourselves, in our own bodies. Tagore says, time is endless in thy hand, of all offerings to the last. Thank you. I don't know what the time is.
And all those things, but in a world for the common man where survival matters, what in the face of provocation, what does he do? He needs to latch on to something, and that's what I think today is really polarizing the whole equation in our country, because I don't see the other side also as liberal as they used to be, maybe a few 50, 60, 100 years ago. So there also radicalization is increasing, and that's why we have the counter effect. Of course, maybe the Hindus are larger in number, so maybe you see it on a much more, escalated level and scale that it's happening now. But then when it comes to, in the face of provocation, what does one do?
No, you're right. Everyone is radicalizing in a sense. And like I said, it's a response to power. When you feel powerless, you want to organize.
No, I'm talking about survival.
No.
See, it's survival of the fittest, isn't it?
Yeah, so you feel you can survive only if you get some power, because you feel powerless, because your because your survival is threatened, your identity is threatened. But we have certain ideas about the common man. I would really ask everyone to question ideas about the common man. Actually, the common man, I don't know what you mean by the common man. Do you mean the middle classes? Do you mean people in the villages? Do you mean people in small towns? Traditionally, people who work with their hands are closer to the truth than intellectuals. And they have more time and they have more leisure. It is we who don't have time, who are engaged in survival, even though we have so many resources. We are battling traffic, we are trying to get from one place to another, we are trying to keep up with our jobs, with our social media, etc., etc., etc. So, don't be too sure about the common man. I would say the so-called intellectuals also have failed, because they also polarize. Intellectuals are also only interested in polarizing. And do you see too many intellectuals acting out of love? I see more common people acting out of love. Intellectuals act out of a sense of identity. I am an intellectual, I know better, I will show you. And then people react against that. That's why the whole idea of liberal elitism, the elite intellectuals. Where is that reaction coming from? Because there is some truth in it. The intellectuals sit on their high perches and they think they know everything, and what they believe in is the truth. But is it? Even if it is, it's your truth, fine. Why the superiority? Acting out of love is a totally different ballgame. And I feel common people serve. You should go out there in different ways, in hundreds of ways. I find common people quietly serving and acting out of love. And this service to fellow countrymen is true patriotism. And the common people are doing it. Those who are battling for survival do it more than people who live in big bungalows.
Yeah, a very quick question about, see, patriotism and nationalism are some of these things of a scoundrel, one of the quotes go on saying. So, do we need to drop this, identities? Because even in patriotism and also nationalism, we see a lot of identities as such. But whereas the message of this Sufi saints and other, bhakti poets is to drop all the identities that we have actually, taken in. So, what does it, as an individual, need to do to drop these identities? Because these are all indoctrinated, these are all imposed, conditioned on you. So, what is the role of an individual in a society which is full of, hatred, and also there is a climate of, hate that is prevailing?
I personally feel identity is not the problem. Taking it too seriously is the problem. So you can be a Muslim, you can be a Hindu, you can be whatever you like, you can be an atheist, you can be an intellectual, be whatever you like. What is the problem? If I am a Hindu and I like going to a temple and I like doing my aarti, there is no problem in that. The problem is that if I believe this is the only way, that everyone should do this, and everyone who is not doing this is a scoundrel and must be beaten up and put in their place and so on. And when do we start taking our identities too seriously? When do we stop wearing them lightly? We must have outer identities. We are different. There's no problem in that. That's what I was trying to say. It's no problem in being a good, whatever you want to be a good Christian, be a good Muslim, be whatever. Be a good Sufi, be a good Bhakti, be a Nirankari, be a this, be a that. There's no problem in all this. The problem is when we take it too seriously, because that's the only thing we have. I was trying to say in my talk that there is something else, which is the basis of this. This identity is the outer shell. It's my clothing, it's my appearance. But there is something which is inner. When you lose contact with that, this outer shell is all you're left with. Then you want to protect it. Then you take it very seriously. And I am suggesting that we have, because of all these ideologies and beliefs, and this need, again and again I find people saying, common man needs to believe in something. This is pure nonsense. We need to be in touch with the inner truth. And I find that common people are more in touch with the inner truth than intellectuals.
Absolutely.
I don't know who talks about the common man except intellectuals. Yes.
One thing, Vipul, do you think that because of technology, communication and all, what we see or feel affected about nationalism, this is much more, it appears much more because of communication and technology. What we see outside comes to our bedroom just because of TV or internet. So we start reacting to it.
Yes.
Not that it didn't exist before. I think earlier times people were killed in more numbers, hundreds and thousands, because of an identity, because of a religion, because of a war, than what is happening today. But because we see it so much close to us, we feel that, oh, the intolerance has gone so high.
Yeah, there is truth in that. There is a lot of noise. And that noise gets into our ears and we are not able to hear anything anymore. We are not even able to think for ourselves. The noise stops you. This is the effect of noise. It stops you. You can't even hear yourself thinking. So what you're saying is true. How do we switch off from this noise? It's up to us individually. WhatsApp forwards, like what he was saying. And it's easy to hit forward without thinking about what the content is, how it will affect someone, or whether it is true or not. So things have become easy, and we are less responsible, and we have less mind space, we have less time. That's what Tagore said, we who have no time are scrambling for our chances. So can we also step into the timeless moment in ourselves?
I think
disconnecting from this brainwashing.
Sorry?
Disconnect ourselves from this kind of brainwashing of the
No, not just disconnect, but connect with something else. Connect. Use a positive tone. Connect with something else. Then you can connect with this also. There's no need to not engage with the world, not engage with people, not wear your identity. Wear your identity, but stay connected with something else also.
Yeah. Coming back to what I was actually trying to say, is it not a defense mechanism?
What?
The nationalism.
Yeah.
It is a defense
Yes.
mechanism because,
Yes.
like you said, if I wish to do my arti, but somebody comes and desecrates it and doesn't allow me to do it, then I need to, do things to so that my tradition continues and so that my practice does not get trampled upon.
Yeah, but that I would say is it real or is it
Perceived?
Yes.
But then it is happening. I mean, at least there were strains of it. Of course, the politicization and all that makes it much worse, but then much more escalated.
Yeah, this is what I would say is part of propaganda, in the sense that Indian civilization has survived for, that's what I was trying to say, millennia. And it didn't need, it doesn't need people like us to protect it. In the sense that we can barely be true to ourselves. How are we going to protect a vast civilization which has given birth to us? So we must trust in that. This notion of defense and this feeling insecure, this is exactly what I was trying to say. This insecurity has been bred. Whether it's real or not, I would very much doubt.
Okay, so on that note, I think we'll have the performance because we are getting late.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah.